We bought Olivia's childhood house 2 years ago, and I thought this was going to be what our page would look like, but instead I'm making a 2-year update on everything that's gone wrong since. This is one of our longer videos, but trust me, you're going to want to watch it all the way through. Day 1. Yep, day 1 we had to tear out all of our floors because of a huge water leak flood. The movers left the refrigerator, icebox, water line running, and it flooded our downstairs. Not long after that, we got a lot of rain, and I realized there was a leak in an obscure spot in our attic, so we had to get that part of the roof fixed. Then I was mounting a TV on my fireplace, and I had to go behind it and saw some mold. Turns out there was a lot more mold than I realized, and we ended up having to do a massive mold remediation. Now, normally we wouldn't DIY something like this, but we had to fire 3 different companies that were not following proper protocols to do the remediation. So we ended up basically training ourselves how to do it professionally, buying air scrubbers and HEPA vacs and doing it ourselves. And as you can see, this was a multiple story from the attic all the way down, massive remediation. Put down some plastic and a tarp in the attic to keep the mold spores from spreading around the attic during the remediation, and we got this tiny little storm. Now, I mean, literally, it was like it was only on top of our house. But sure enough, I was doing the remediation as it was raining and the clear skies outside, and it dripped water on my head in my house. I thought that was weird, so I went up in the attic, started investigating, and sure enough, there was another leak. It was dripping directly onto all the tarps I just put out, and our chimney was completely shot. It was rotting from the inside out and water basically was pouring down, and that was a big part of why we had the remediation needed anyways. So we had to get a brand new chimney and have that one completely deconstructed, and bison bins was becoming all too familiar in our driveway. While there was already a big mess from the remediation, I decided to go ahead and take out the tile, and I ended up finding way more mold. The windows were leaking at some point, all the drywall was nasty, the insulation was too, so I had to do another mold remediation. At this point, I still had all the equipment and was pretty comfortable with that, so I went ahead and did it and fixed all the leaks on the windows. Now at this point, Olivia and I basically have hydrophobia because water seems to be popping up everywhere and it just keeps getting worse and worse. We then get this massive storm, like 120-mile-an-hour winds, takes out our fences and our trees, and we have to redo all of them in our backyard. So someone comes with a skid steer, takes out our shed and some of our trees, and then we have to get a whole new fence. As if we didn't have enough problems on our own hands, we go to look at another property, and it has a flea infestation. We didn't know that, but we walked through it and found out after. We were covered head to toe in fleas. They were all over us. They were biting us. We had to cover our car with diatomaceous earth. It was a nightmare situation for us clean freaks. By the time the fleas could stop biting us, we found another water leak, this time in our backyard coming from our pool equipment. So we had to take out the concrete, dig down, and sure enough, there was a tiny little leak, but a big problem caused by it. So we were able to pretty simply fix that leak by just replacing the corner, but then our pool was having other problems because the plaster was cracking and it was just definitely needing to be replaced. While these guys are redoing the pool and replacing the plaster, I realized that all of our pool equipment is now leaking and having problems as well. So now we're basically forced to get all new equipment and update the area around it. Meanwhile, we're still doing our Good Work Wednesday projects as best we can and helping people in our community for free, and we're even remodeling huge parts of our house like the bathroom and building this giant pergola in our backyard. In our 1 second of spare time, we're saving little Thumper that fell in our pool, and look, he's doing great now. And now that we have a new pergola, I asked God if we could get some golf ball sized hail to test its integrity. Oh yeah, and then another leak in the front yard, which ended up being something with the sprinkler line, and I fixed that. And then the septic had some problems in the backyard because the skid steer broke some of the drain lines. Fun times for us. Then I have to remove like 10,000 pounds of dirt just to get to the bottom of the tank, which is like 3 feet deep, and it reveals another water leak. Great. By the time I could walk back inside, we had another leak under one of our sinks. Not a big deal, we fixed that. And then a hot water heater did leak, which was a big deal because we didn't know about it and it flooded one of our rooms. Then I was redoing the playroom and had to take out the fridge. This wasn't a new leak, but it was an old leak and it had turned into mold. Once that was remediated, we ended up getting like 10 inches of rain, and our brand new bedroom that we had just finished ended up having a leak. No surprise, right? This time it wasn't really something I could prevent. It just came from outside, and great. New skills for me to learn. So we redid all that and the room's back to normal. And that brings us to today. When life gives you lemons, you gotta make lemonade, and we've had a lot of lemons to work with. If you've made it this far, we'd love if you follow our page and follow us along for the rest of our journey as we grow our family and just roll with the punches.